Now all the boring parts are gone. So perhaps can start with some interesting part. What I can do for those data. So for a test, what do we want to do? We want to test efficiently, right? To run the most important test case first. And some test case might take a really long time to execute, and we want to find out. Then we can put some engineering in to say, okay, what happened in this test case? Why it takes so long? And why some test case failed on that machine specifically? And this is what I wanted to get.
But again, I mean, the test case, it could be the machine test, it could be the algorithm test, it could be the library test.
Yeah.
What you are going to test, could you explain it to me?
They are.
Because it doesn't make clear.
There are few types of test case. Yeah. One is the unit test, and that usually take a really short time and don't need a whole environment to run. This is unit test or basic test. And then the second part, we can have some function test to test some system that function is working. And this is the most part I'm trying to tackle it, because the function test could have lots of useful information. Like basic test, it should pass, right? Otherwise the code should not be there. And then we have some system test, like stability test, characteristics test, and that can be used, but it's a bit different. So mainly I'm trying to tackle it for the function test. I need some environment to run those analytics. What should I do? And I try to use a Docker environment, and I build a Docker environment called the Zeppelin highchart. And inside it has like a Git, because it's easy to use. I put in pandas because some environment does not support pandas in Zeppelin or just on that machine. And for some library, it needs Python TK. And it's based on OpenJDK. Because it's based on OpenJDK, then I can freely publish it. If I don't using Oracle JDK, I'm free.
Does everything also support R?
No, because I don't know R. And I add some interesting part. It's here called the spark-highchart. Zeppelin has some chart library. It can plot some charts. But it's not a full-fledged solution. There are lots of functions they are missing. And then I developed a library called Zeppelin highchart. And when we announced this meetup, we're still using the term Zeppelin highchart because it was designed for Zeppelin. Later on, I found actually it's not only limited use in Zeppelin, and I can add a simple function to make it also work in Spark shell. If any of you using Spark shell, then you will know that there is no good plot function, right? You can write show or take, but it's text. What can text do? What can it find inside with some text output? It will be difficult. And I know that there is a library called highcharts. It's pretty powerful and beautiful. So why not we try to put that two together? So then I developed that one. It's in GitHub. I will share this slide later on. Actually, it's already in the GitHub. You can check. So this is a Docker, and it's in Docker Hub. You can use it directly. And this is quite general, so you can use whatever you want. And then I have something my own. I need my own algorithm. And I want algorithm could be shared. So what I do, I just put a GitHub repository and save my notebook there. And where's my data come from? I can also put it into GitHub. And then I can get it.
Which notebook you use, Jupyter or that one?
Zeppelin.
Oh,
Zeppelin. Then I put a simple Docker file. Based on that Docker file, I can create my environment. Like this few steps, git clone, and then go to a directory, and possibly you need to modify this Docker file because my notebook might not suit for you, and your data might different with mine. But you can play mine as well, no problem. And then I can build a temporary image and run it. If you notice, this is 8089. Why is 8089? Because when I try, I start with 8080. Every time when I have something new, so I 8081, 8082, until now this version is 8089. And I can let all the previous versions run. Of course, I can remove it as well. Previously, I showed this AngularJS. Then I try to analyze it here. And this is also a live one. It's directly connected to the Zeppelin. I just try to embed the page into these slides. Then first, I need to import something, some standard part, and then I called somewhere called knock data. I like this name that there are lots of data, and I want contact with them. So I knock, so called knock data. And this is called spark-highcharts. Then I define the CSV file format, what CSV file format it is. And this is for test case, which means each test case execution, there will be one record, one line, because I'm using CSV. Then I can load this data. This Spark CSV can directly load the CSV data zipped in gzip. If you're using other like gzip might not working because it's said that there's some strange thing. Why I need the file name end with .gzip. Then I try to run it, hope it's working. Sometimes when presenting, it's just not working. Okay, now it's running. It might take some time because the first time, the whole Spark need to be start up. That needed the whole Jenkins and the whole Java virtual machine start up and load the Spark. And possibly load that file because I have that, get the first line to see if it's really working.
How big is your tab in this case?
This one?
Yeah.
I can check like perhaps 1 gigabyte something. Or before the zip is 1 gigabyte. Okay, here this is the output. Come on, what I did. Then I using this one to show a chart, a method called highcharts, and this is a data frame, and I want to get a series, and the name is test case status, and then the y-axis is that how many test case. Then I plot a chart in column using column chart and dot plot. And this is the result. Now it's executing. It's trying to aggregate the whole data. The backside is first load the file and then aggregate it. Then it's show, finished. But when I see this result, I see, okay, here, so many, and here, nothing. What happened? So, because using this column chart might be a little bit difficult to spot if the number is really small compared to the biggest one. So I'm using pie charts. And this is a pie chart. Let me execute as well. And it's almost the same, except here, I'm using pie, chart.py, and plot. And here, okay, I see, okay, passed, they are 75,000. And they are failed test case. Come on. Okay, there are 3 test case failed. 3 among those 75,000. And the fixed is also 3.
So this is just a single build, is it?
No, the whole Jenkins, the whole AngularJS Jenkins. All the history data they have to the point I crawled.
So they only had 3 failed errors now.
3 failed. And after fixed means that the first time it's failed, then fixed is passed. It's called fixed. There is another status called regression. Regression means the test was executed successful, then failed. But here, don't. When I see this result, I know what happened is that my chart is wrong or something. So then I directly using this Spark code to see, okay, what's going on. And seems it is that case. There are many test cases successful and 3 failed, and it was fixed. It will take a couple seconds to execute. Then I want to know, okay, what are those test cases? What are those test cases I can see, okay? Then I have this one. It's come out pretty quick. We see these are at July the 20th. It was failed, the same one. There are 3 failed. And it was fixed at July 20th, 3 hours later. So which means, at least in their history, it has 3 failed, and it was fixed in 3 hours. Pretty amazing. But for me, I feel frustrated, you know, what I can do with this result. So I want to say, okay, are there any more I can get except those failed test cases? So then I try to have a statistics. It will finish pretty fast. And I group by test case name, aggregate by minimum duration as min, and maximum duration as max, and the mean duration as min, and the standard deviation as STDV, and ordered by STDV in descending order. And I found, okay, the standard deviation was half seconds. What does that mean? So the test case execution was pretty short. Even the biggest gap was half seconds. So either they are developing pretty perfect software, or they are hiding very well. So the thing they are showing is close to perfect. Only one minor thing, minor defect, and they fixed in 3 hours. I hope they developing perfect software so I can use with confidence.
This is Angular?
This is Angular JS.
I think Google has an internal CI server, so they
That most possibly that they have their internal one, and when they publish out one, it's most likely working.
They do.
Okay.
I used to work for them, so yeah.
Aha. Okay. So.
Does this show something also about code coverage? Because of course, if you really want to have good success rate, you don't write so many test cases.
And
But
the code coverage depends on whether they publish this code coverage or whether they configure using, I think usually by this Kubernetes. They can configure this.
You cannot get code coverage report without instrumentation of code. So usually a separate build run is used to instrument the code and gather code coverage report. So it works for GVM, it works like that.
This is JavaScript might be a bit different.
I think code instrumentation applies to like any language. If you need to see how often, whether this line of code was accessed or not.
But it's not true for Java. In Java, there's hooks in the JVM that gives you code coverage. And for JavaScript, I think you can get hooks into the V8.
Yeah.
I think, and what about Python?
Python, I don't know.
Like, I mean, in Scala, they don't, in Scala's coverage, they use macros for this without GVM hooks. So it's like a different approach.
Yeah. But it's normal Java, you don't need to.
So you can, through the sort of reflection mechanism, you can get this metadata. Or
JVM instrumentation API.
Yeah, that is try to intrude with some dynamic code. But anyway, it's open sourced, and we can know that which commit it is. We can run it ourselves to get coverage as well, if we want. But I have not run it. So after get this result, okay, perhaps for Angular, I don't have much to do. actually based on this result. So Apache, how about Apache? There are many Apache projects, and some of them are put into Jenkins. Only some of them. Oh. Just a second. So, which approve that this is not fake, it's real, okay? And I try to get all the jobs. Perhaps some of them, you know that some project use some of the project. And I found like this active message queue is quite interesting too.
Let's look into Hadoop.
Hadoop. They have Hadoop, but not the whole Hadoop stack, I think. Oh,
It's all red.
do you feel that normally when you see red, you feel bad? But when I go into this Jenkins server, when I see red, I'm excited. Because when red, I have something to do, right? It's not like everything is perfect, then I'm useless. When I see this is red, I'm excited. And this also prove that they are not faking the Jenkins server by using tool. Okay, so let's see which project shall we get in. This Hadoop trunk commit, perhaps. This. But I think this, unfortunately, they didn't have a test report published for this job. I do know that they have, for the active MQ, they have a test report. And this was the test report. And it has 3 failures. And 1 minus means compared to previous run, it have 1 less failed. It's possible that we again get into down and to see what's happening inside. But again, there is no correlation. There is no correlation between different test cases, between different run with previous one, with what's the average execution time. So after CRUD, we can analyze it in a more nicer way to find something useful. I mentioned that I tried to crawl all this Apache Jenkins server data, but I did not finish in 3 days. Because the first time took a long time. They have really huge data. And so I just choose some of them to crawl. Some of them which I feel interesting. And here is, I try to analyze Jenkins test report. Test report means that one execution of a job, there is 1 record. So I load it. Let's execute it. This is a bit larger than AngularJS. And here we have one mode called job malformed, which means if some data is corrupted in CSV file, we just ignore it. It will be good to know what's wrong there, but for analyze, it's easy to just ignore it. And this is the first line. active MQ. Then I try to run it to see. For I filtered out. There are some failed test case, but there is nothing pass, which means the whole job is failed. And the name is which job it is, and the y-axis is how many tasks fail in total in the whole history, and ordered by field count in descending order. If there are many, then I take top 20 and plot it. By the way, that if using in Spark shell, it's pretty the same if you want to plot it, this library. The only difference is that here the plot using HTML. Then it will open a browser with a chart. And everything is inside with interaction. You can send the HTML to other body or put it into your slides. And of course, this all failed because there is no job with only failed test case. So this chart is empty. I do meet some test cases are failed. Usually it's when in function test, the first job is install the system. If the job is not configured well, even install failed, or the consequent job test case try to run, then it certainly will fail, right? And those can be exported by those analyzed. Then I try to find, okay, what are those top failing jobs? By the way, top failing job does not mean that it's bad. It's just mean that it's failed more times than other job. It might execute more often. And I have something here. Find it interesting. This is Flink. Anyone using Flink? Okay, nice. I have not tried, but I heard it's pretty nice as well. And they are totally 2060 test case failed.
Why you carve is like this shape?
This one?
Yeah, why is this shape like this?
Because I ordered with failed count. So start with the most failing job.
Okay.
Yeah. If I don't order, then it will be some random order. And I also take top 20. Then here called the top failing slaves. Slave means some machine. It's the same with node. Not exactly the same. Slave means that the node accepts the master. Again, that I see, okay, there are some failed test case. And the name is which machine is built on. And the Y is number of failing test case. And using ordered by fail account in descending order and take top 20. Can you guess which job it is? Oh no, sorry, it's the machine which failed. Anyone can guess what label it has for the top failing slaves? No? Ubuntu. So which means they're using Ubuntu more often than other machines. And I guess this is located in US. So what could possibly we do about this? And for some reason, it might be it's failed in normal, right? Sometimes that machine is wrong. If that machine is wrong, then we need to put some engineer to analyze. Okay, that machine fail more often than other machine, we should fix it. And this analytics cannot help to fix the problem there. And how about top success job? No, it's not my one. It's Apache. It said Rosé and Soa. Because I only cross some jobs, so it's not the whole Apache product. It's some of them. For the next notebook, I have a list what job I crawled. So I don't know if it means that the Lucene Soa have better quality or they have more test case run. Perhaps I can run this one. What is it? I don't have a title, so I need to read. Okay, I want to plot high chart and filter out that there are some test case failed and add, okay, which hour it is. Then I want for the name is hour and the y-axis is number of failing count. And ordered by hour, which means I want to plot from 0 to 23. And I want using spline. It's similar with line chart, but it's smoothed. And here comes Nathan.
So you're saying here that after 12 o'clock you should not start coding because
That's most likely that people think.
You can code it, but
Yeah.
you can submit the data.
Yeah, people think that after a few couple of beers, then they are more creative. Then they submit it. And possibly this was the reason.
No, the nodes are sleeping, so at the beginning they couldn't recognize. It was hard to do. So they made a mistake.
Yeah, and I guess this one also because that people want to go for lunch. Then problem happens.
Well, if the build takes long, then it might make sense to push it, the changes before going to lunch, right?
Yeah. But I don't know. It's seems pretty interesting. And this one is people just wake up. They are still sleepy. It's at 6.
I would say it's before going to sleep, right?
Okay, that's also possible.
But then could it also be because it's an open source project with contributors from all over the world? If you are on stuff, where those, is it a US based community or is it a Europe and US based
Yeah.
community? And whether those time zone differences are contributing to this?
That might need more data from which change set it is and where is the change set come from. That might take a bit more time, especially like this GitHub, where is the user. I don't know if it's possible to get where is the user pushed.
I think the reason for such a spike is that it's not like hook on commit which was invoked after some changes were pushed. It's some scheduled build.
Aha.
And when
Yeah.
a lot of builds coincide, then you have
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
accumulated
Yeah.
error rate.
And this one I also don't have title, so let's see what is it. It's a high chart and based on this Apache test report data frame and filled out the number of field account is bigger than 0 and which day it is, and the x-axis is day. Of course, I should not have the 12.5 days. I should be using category. But then I need to add a bit more here. It's possible. That library does support it, but I need to add one line more. Ordered by day, start. And then I also want to using area spline. Area spline is combined with spline and area. And plot. And I don't know what's this spark come from.
Because it's salary time.
Sorry?
Salary transaction.
Salary time.
There's a policy, company policy.
Yeah,
You need to commit at least 5 files.
To get the
Aha, that's really interesting. Thanks, guys. So that could possibly be the reason. And you see that we can find some insight, but I'm not a good data scientist. I'm just try to set those environments up and give some examples. I guess there are much more we could do based on this data.
So here basically what we see is you are describing the data set, right, in a graphical way. Is it also possible to do some kind of diagnostics or predictive stuff here with this kind of data? With this kind of platform?
I think there are lots of
But this
good engineers which could do.
test case and this small data, how can we predict it?
Okay, let's do some little and short feature engineering for prediction. Let's say, what feature would you pick from a build to predict whether it's gonna fail or not? I mean, of course it's a commit author, right? But apart from commit author, what it could be?
And possibly like from 23rd or like here, it's not a good time to pick a release.
And it's overfitted. Whatever projection you make is completely wrong.
Mm?
It's overfitted.
What is the goal, what we want to achieve with this? I mean, you have this data, important data about the builds. What kind of things can you do with this data that can make either the business more efficient or attract good developers or coach developers to have or write more code, test code? Or
In my understanding, there are two main use cases. One is get inside that what's going on. And the other is make the test execution more efficient. Make test case execution more efficient. I have a few more slides which try to solve this issue.
Just a general question. It would be nice to see this sort of data in a different, like in a different chart. Let's say some.
Which chart do you like to use?
I would like to cluster, by some, like I don't know, to cluster by some feature, by some property.
And that might not only the plot function that need more data aggregation or machine learning to get some data first, then plot it. Right?
Yeah, okay, let's say I will import MLlib and use some simple like k-means, something like that.
Yeah, then after that analyze, you will create another data frame, right?
Maybe just an array. But okay, in the end I will have a vector or like a vector.
Yeah, it's similar with that. And after that, we can plot it. And then this is based some aggregation on a data frame and try to plot it. If we want the more advanced analyze, then before the plot, it need to do some analyze.
But yeah, I mean, the question was whether it's possible to plot clusters.
You need to have a tabular data.
Yeah, let's say we have tabular
Yeah,
data. Okay.
that's possible.
Great.
But we can just using here press bar to see if it's working. Did I run it? Okay. This is just a different format, and you can choose. If we go into high chart website, we can know, okay, which chart we want to use. And this Spark high chart library just try to follow the high chart philosophy and map as close as possible. This is a test report, means that one job execution have one record. Then we have test case. We have test case execution. And this is pretty the same with the schema is a bit different because we have different features, different columns. Run it to load the data, get the first line, and no doubt because the first job is active MQ. No, yeah, it is active MQ. And then here I have a few jobs which I crawled. Active MQ. Is this pronounced Ambry or what's this pronounced for? And then there's Flink and Flu and Hadoop Trunk, Kafka, Lucensor, Scoop, and Zookeeper, because I found those jobs are more interesting. So I crawl it. It can be crawled in other data and analyzed the same way.
I have actually another question. You're doing this actually on the open source project. Have you also tried to use this professionally at work, for example, to find some insights on the builds that we're doing at work?
I do, but I'm showing this for this Meetup talk.
I wonder what kind of insights do you find there, for example?
This is especially that some test cases fail more often, some machine fail more often, some test case execute take a really long time. And that is the insight. And there will be, then after, based on that, we can have some action. And that the action will be on the, I think perhaps next slide. Just let me have some more. And then here I can, okay, which one do you like to analyze? Anyone?
Let's do Zookeeper maybe.
Zookeeper, I don't know if it's, okay, here says the job is Zookeeper.
Is it correct that you're running your Spark driver in Docker and local mode to do this computation?
Exactly.
Is
Because actually this data is not big enough. So if I have like a terabyte data, then I need to form a cluster to analyze. And here the data is actually small enough to finish at most in a minute if I don't use a machine learning library. If using machine learning library, then it's good. Perhaps it's good to form a cluster.
Okay.
Because
is it hard to just parameterize your Docker container to look at Yarn or Mesos cluster?
It takes more time.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes more time. And there's a special one that how to store the data. Where is the HDFS located? Do we mount it in volume or we put it in directly in the Docker container? So this question need to be solved. Which one we choose? The simple one will be using some physical machine from a Spark cluster, then this Zeppelin use that one. That will be the simplest.
I would vote for putting Hadoop configuration as a directory on a physical machine on a laptop, and then mounting it as a volume to Docker container.
Yeah.
Then
Okay, then it knows where to connect, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And this one just print out the jobs. And let's execute in this way. And how many tests? Sorry. There are 62,000 passed, 2 failed, 62 skipped, some fixed, some in regression. This is the whole history data, what Apache Jenkins server has. If they delete it, and then I don't have it. If they don't delete it, and this is all, I think it's the day before yesterday I crawled.
Is it the amount of tests executed from the beginning of crawling, or per single?
If they have the data, then it is here.
But I mean, is it the sum of tests between all the builds? Because 62,000 doesn't look real, even for Zookeeper. 62,000 tests in one project, I mean, it's too much.
No, it is that each run, it have one record. If run 100 times, then it's multiply 100 times.
Okay. So it's a multiplication of all the runs.
Yeah, multiplication. And it seems also pretty good. They have 2 test cases failed. Then perhaps we can analyze, after this round, we can analyze another one to see what's going on. And here is another plot. Let's take a bit more time, because most test cases are successful, and then it's harder to see others. And by the way, this x-axis, for simplicity, I just using numbers don't specify anything here. But it's possible to specify here using category. Then it will using a real name, like successful, pass, no, not success, passed, failed. Then this is another in pie chart way. And we can execute this one, and I can enter the top failing test case. What test case are fail the most? The test case status is not passed. I can using the failed as well. And the series is which test case class name it is, and the y-axis is the duration. What's the maximum duration for the failing test case? And ordered by this time, and take top 15 and plot it.
There are only 2 test cases failed. Can we get this result?
No, sorry, it's because I here using the not failed. There are more test cases than not failed, okay? And like this one, maximum takes 94 seconds. Because these are mostly the basic test. That's why the execution time is pretty short. In our real production environment, if we run function test, it could take pretty long. For each test case, it can take a pretty long time. And this is another one for top pass test case. Actually, what mean top pass test cases? Which means either these test cases are designed but never really run effectively, or the code is really designed well, have not been touched for a long time. It could be either way. And this is the one, which one it is? It might make sense. It's hard to read. It's test many child watches auto reset. From the name, it doesn't make sense. No, it's not make sense. Many child auto reset. It's why is so many test cases successful? I have not know. I don't know. Then I can get, okay, what's the maximum individual test case duration? How long does that test case take in sum? Again, is this one? Because it executed the most times, I think. Max sum execution duration test case is aggregated by test class name. Again, this one, not doubt. I guess this will be the same due to the test case execute is not even distributed because this test case execute more times. We can change it to another job. Like this Flink. This paragraph will be executed automatically. Which one to use? Have this one. And now this is called a run checkpointed program. The maximum duration is the largest, is that 1,200 seconds. Because we can know that which test case failed the most, and we can know that which test case failed the last. Which one was that? Yeah. People are start leaving, perhaps why don't run and just go through. And this was I ran for this job, and I know, okay, there are some test case. They failed, the last fail test case. The last failed test case, then I need to run it first, right? I get this data, I know that which one failed, the last failed. Then I run that first. Most likely, if that is fixed, then the solution is solved. So get a faster feedback loop. And how to pick right test case to run? Because previous I know that which test case failed last, then I can run some test case like this test class, or I can specify using regular expressions and with multi-combinations. I have an example project here in GitHub. If you're interested, you can check out.
Questions. Like if you know that like this test case like it failed 80% of the time, no 20% of the time, and then it passed 50%.
No, because that already is in the history. You cannot fix that part.
Okay, but like maybe sometime like you haven't changed any code, you know, like but the test case just failed.
Been,
The regression test or maybe the nightly run or anything like that.
I think that most likely is some unknown problem inside.
Yeah,
The product does not working stably.
but it can be like there's some server that is like slow response as well, like or kind of thing like that because like it happens that like you might have some server issue.
That could be,
Yeah, but
because
how do I know that that is a problem? Like because from what I see, the report that showed me that okay, this test case is 80% pass, 20% fail,
yeah,
and then
you want
it fail randomly, or then
you want to know the reason. Are there any connections? And then most likely need to go through that console text to find a reason why that test case failed. Then correlate it why those test cases failed. Some test cases failed for this reason, some test cases failed for other reasons.
yeah, I know what you mean. Is that anything that like if you know that like this test case is failed with some environment issue, then can you just list it down? Okay, this is the environment issue. You know, it's not code related because it can happen that like the test case fails. It's not because of like a production code problem. It's because of the environment issue.
That might using other strategy working better, like using neural network, try to analyze the log to find the correlate why it happened.
Okay.
I have a colleague who designed this and seems working pretty well. Yeah?
I've not used Jenkins, but I was wondering if it's possible to get code. There are certain software metrics like code complexity or dozen of others, which somehow measure how complex your code is or if it's maintainable, and then we can maybe try to correlate whether modules with this metric fails more or something like that.
You mean like solar?
No, I mean there are certainly some software metrics for which measure objectively or at least aim to measure objectively code complexity, and there are a lot of software metrics. So maybe we can get those in Jenkins, and if suppose there is a module and the metric says it's complex code is there and then it fails more.
I have an answer actually, because code complexity is not like a measurable thing.
Yeah.
And as soon as your team agrees on the fact that your code is acceptable and all the team members are okay with that code, then this code is good. And like.
Yeah, I know, but in the literature you see there are a lot of software metrics which claim that this should be below this threshold level, this should not be high. And even there are literature research papers on predicting software bugs, and they use a lot of these metrics to predict that these are the potential modules which can fail. So if we can get those metrics in Jenkins somehow, and then we can maybe.
But if you need some, you can wire it as a build step and get this report, and then you can extract this report and analyze in the same way.
Yeah, I think the steps will be pretty similar, but you need more analyze to correlate those things.
Have you tried combining this data with system metric information like CPU, SCIO to sort of differentiate whether it's a problem with the test case versus code versus environment? Do you see that could solve this?
I'm thinking about that. If I want to analyze the history data, and basically I cannot because the time already passed and we don't have such data like CPU usage, memory usage, then I need to intrude the execution and get some data when it executing, at least recorded. Then I can analyze with like.
have one more question. It looks like you analyzed a lot of. I already have one. Thank you. It looks like you analyzed like several Apache projects while you was preparing this awesome talk. So how's it going at Apache Jenkins? Is it okay? Like confidence level, test passed. Should we use this software? Is it in a good shape after your investigation?
As some of you said, it's like perhaps this is one indication that how good the software it is, but it might not be true. Like I need to analyze more like complexity, and then perhaps other thing with the resource usage, how stable it is. Then we can have a confidence level. Okay, this product is good to use. Then and that product know that it's not good, and even can analyze like which version is not good. We can have a comparison.
What do you think in next 2 years, which is the competitive to Jenkins?
You mean Jenkins? I think Jenkins will be continuously important in enterprise environment. And for open source like this, Travis and some small company like this Team City, and in front end using this Strider, and some company like Bamboos because they have lots of Atlassian. How many have?
It's like 2 large, 2 medium. I think that's what's left. Large, it's like on me, it's USL. So medium, maybe a bit smaller.
Do you want one?
Ah, thanks.
Larger one?
Yes.
Which one? This is large. It's large.
Thanks.
You possibly take a small one.